This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry. Okay. Thanks, Chris. All right, we'll call this Cottage Grove Fire District Committee meeting to order. It is 6:35. We have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted. We'll give the public's opportunity to speak about any subject that is not a specific agenda item. Eric on the phone, nobody from the public here. Anybody? No? Okay. Moving on, discuss and consider the minutes from the January 23rd, 2023 meeting.
I'll move approval as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? A motion and a second.
Who was the second?
Vince. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next agenda item, Chief's report.
All right, so we're sitting at 45 staff right now. Consists of 10 officers, 2 drivers, 28 firefighters, and 5 probationary members. 46 calls for service as of 2/23, which was last week. Right now, that's averaging out to about 0.85 calls a day, which would put us around 311 at the end of the year. Pretty similar to where we were last year. Call breakdown, 17 in the village, 11 in the town of Cottage Grove, 8 in Pleasant Springs, and 10 mutual aid. And actually, we had one more Saturday, so that's 11 in mutual aid. Car 1 has had the graphics added to it, and it's actually in service now. So we're using it as a response vehicle. Engine 3 went today to Reliant for some minor warranty issues. When they built it, they put undercoating on the frame and they got it all over the exhaust system. So when the truck does a regen, it starts smoking really bad. Looks like it's burning on fire. So they're gonna take the exhaust system apart and clean all that off, and potentially a battery issue too they're gonna look at. So it's there right now. It should be back in a day or two. Equipment, still waiting on the new radios. I actually reached out to the salesman today, waiting for an answer back what he thinks for an ETA. The air compressor upstairs that does the shorelines to all the trucks, that had a pressure switch go bad on it, and it was actually not letting the compressor shut off, so it just kept running and running until it got red hot and was smoking, and we ended up
One upstairs.
That's the one upstairs, yep. So it feeds all the hose lines to the air brakes on the trucks.
Yeah.
So the trucks are all ready to go right away without running the compressors on them.
Didn't you replace that one time, Chris?
No, that's original on the building.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So
How big a compressor is that?
60 gallons,
Huh?
60 gallons,
I mean,
120 PSI, 60 gallons. So 208 single stage.
you don't know how many, I mean, is it a single stage or 2-stage compressor?
Single stage.
Single stage,
cylinder, yeah.
It's tall.
Huh?
It's tall.
Oh, yeah. It just definite difference in expense between a 2-stage compressor and a single stage. And I'm glad to hear that it's a single stage.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, that was original from 1994. I think we should actually pursue getting some prices on a compressor and possibly adding an air dryer system, because during the winter we have a lot of problems with moisture in the brakes. The tanks get filled with water and then they start to rust. Ended up having to put 2 new compressors, one in the squad, one in the ladder last year for moisture.
How
So
much do you estimate that could be?
I don't know. I mean, I would
A
get some prices.
decent 60 gallon, we spent $1,000 for a decent compressor. Air chillers, though, those are a little pricey just because of what they are, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
So it just happened towards the end of last week, so I didn't have time to price it out yet, but I'll bring quotes for the next meeting for that. Training in January was hose advancement and victim packaging. Right now, we're doing air consumption drills and our annual fit testing to make sure our SCBA masks fit properly. 4 milestones in February. That was Dennis Larson with 34 years, Tom Loudy with 3, Jake Vedder has 1 year, and Paul Winters has 25. We added 1 new member, Isaac Tomlinson in February. He's brand new, green as can, green bee, green bee, can't speak. Right out of high school, so he's in the fire academy at MATC when he joins, so should be a good addition. We reapplied for the AFG grant since the radios weren't successful and we purchased them now. We went for a new item, which is SEMS 2. It's going to be electronics that are added to all of our self-contained breathing apparatuses. It's allowing for tracking of firefighters, how their air is, if there is an alarm on their pack. You can monitor all that remotely from outside the building, so it's improved safety, accountability. Second item in the grant was some classes, advanced critical incident stress debriefing and group intervention, de-escalation skills, stress management, and for the trauma provider, and understanding suicide, tools for prevention and trainings.
Would our current service provider be the one to provide that, or
What do you mean?
that training?
It's through AF.
No,
It's the AFG grant.
no, it's a private provider that'll provide that training to us.
So they'll train our members. It's like a train the trainer. So then our
Okay.
members will then be able to do those services for our staff.
We have an EAP program that currently provides us crisis intervention in the event we have a situation or a need. And our peer support team currently has peer support training, but this is a far more advanced training for our peer support team to have. So, and not only does it provide them skills to do some in-house stuff with members, but it also ensures that they themselves can take care of themselves because they're doing a lot of stuff to help treat other members or provide support for other members. We want to make sure our peer support team is also managing their own stress. So it's some really good training opportunities for the peer support team that's far more advanced.
And that's all. Those are the 2 things you asked for in the AFG grant.
Yeah, and there's actually a third item. We actually asked for some funding to help remodel the upstairs member room, to give a space for people to do some peer support activities, and actually it's kind of an area for members to just gather and blow off steam kind of thing, and do some tailboard talks, that kind of thing. So the reason we chose those 3 items is they kind of align with what AFG's priority is for the year. Every year they set priority lists. This year's priorities were based on suicide prevention, those training classes that we signed up for, and then the accountability was a really big one too. So that's why we chose those items. And then the flooring project in the basement has finally been completed.
Awesome. Any questions for Nick? I have a question, Nick. In the village, still leading false alarms and false calls. Anything we can do to? And I ask this question every month, but I figured I'd continue.
Why not give it a shot?
Why not ask? Is there anything, and again, 6 calls out of the total 46. Again, each 6 out of 46 is not statistically a big number, but again, I can't help but ask.
Yeah, this time there hasn't been any consistent offenders. It's been a few different buildings, some of these apartment buildings, as they start to get more occupants in them, fire alarm will go off in their apartment. They'll call 911 because they're not sure if it's fire or CO. So then they call and ask us to check it. And, so it's been spread out between a few buildings this time. It hasn't been just one building this time where we can kind of get on them a little bit to get it fixed. But
If they call you to ask about that, that goes under false alarm?
Yeah, if we go out there and we check, if they call saying they have a smoke alarm going off, we check it, find nothing wrong, then it's a false alarm. So,
Random question. So I had the fire alarm go off once and there were cobwebs in one of the smoke detectors. Is that considered a false alarm? Is it?
It would, yeah, it would be. It's anything that isn't actually set off because of smoke or fire or carbon monoxide, that would be considered a false alarm. So we've had a few where they had a water leak in the roof that set the alarm off because it shorted out the electronics. No fire, but there was water tripped it.
No, that's good to know.
So just to help give some clarification, each of these 1, 3, 5, 7, there's multiple different numbers within those. So they're 100 codes. So one actually is a 100 code, and within that 100 codes, there's 111, 112, 113, 114. So a 111 is actually a building fire. A 114 is another type of fire. A 115 is another type of fire. So each one of these has multiple different types inside of it. So a 7 actually has like a 735 and a 736, and it really breaks it down into the exact specific type it is. So you might have one that's a CO alarm malfunction, a CO alarm, it's something else. And so we actually have to go in there and break it down to exactly what type of false alarm it was. If actually someone was cooking and it created a false alarm, or if the system had bad batteries and that's what created the false alarm. So we actually have to break it down. But for these charts, it just simplifies it and says
That's helpful.
100, 200, 300, 400.
I think it's just if somebody comes to the village and says, why do we have so many false alarms?
Yeah.
That's helpful detail because we can say, well, it breaks down more than that, but it's not. Again, you'd rather be safe than sorry, right? But I didn't know cobwebs could make the damn thing go off, so. I'm a statistic, right?
Yep.
So not only change the batteries every year, but also take a can of compressed air, give it a few squirts and you're good to go. So.
Is there a code for?
That would be a malfunction. Yeah.
Story of my life. It's all good.
And you get some too, like a water main break. We'll get called for them and April puts it where it needs to go, but it might not even be fire department related. They called 911 because they don't know who to call. And we end up either calling the village or it's a maintenance on scene, like a pipe break in one of the buildings. It had nothing to do with the fire alarm whatsoever. It was, get there, shut the water off and call a restoration company or something like that. It might not be fire related at all, but they call 911.
Sure. Makes sense. Cool. Anything else for Nick? No. Moving on, discuss and consider replacement of heater in the fishbowl area.
Okay, we got the 3 electrical heaters around the windows working off of the thermostat. They are working, they're warm now. They had to unhook the non-functioning auxiliary heater in that ductwork that doesn't work to get it to work off of the thermostat. So I told everybody, tell us if it's warm enough or not. See if we need to replace the other one and how they'll wire it. I have no idea, but
Is it warm?
So far, it's been,
So far,
it's set to 68 and it's actually 68 in there. So, or it was like 62, 63. So
yeah.
it's warmer than it was. We haven't had a really cold day though yet either. So
No,
that'd be the real test is if you set it to 68 and it's -10 outside or something, will it keep up?
I thought you were gonna say -10 inside.
no, I don't want to get that. So I guess I'd wait for staff to tell us if it's comfortable or not.
Makes sense. Okay, discuss and consider replacement of wireless access points in the emergency service building.
So this was a quote that Chief Lang got. He had horsemen in there doing some work. And I think they said that 3 of the access points were either failed or they are failing or starting to get out of date, something like that. So this was a price to replace all the access points that are to bring the whole wireless network back up to full strength, basically.
Is it budgeted?
Sure. That
Was it budgeted to do this year?
it was not. I think it was an
For
unexpected
the,
expense.
Maintenance,
that'll be emergency
Flush.
services. I don't think you want to call it a slush fund, but.
There's money.
It's not politically,
There's money
it's not
available.
politically wise to call it flood.
if we do it, take it out of that 40.
I don't know, the IT guy in me wants to know what is a UI access point? I'm assuming it's ubiquity.
I have a lot of questions.
So I'm not entirely sure. Chief Lang got
Fire.
that.
There's a guy like
Who's jumping on there?
taking a look, right? Does anything seem to be working improperly?
There's a couple areas where it's not working.
It's just not covered. There's no
It's
coverage.
not. Yeah.
Wi-Fi. Yeah, these are probably ubiquity.
I mean, it seems reasonable to
I don't
me.
remember how old those access points are.
Yeah, you don't want it to go all the way out.
It's been a while.
How many hours they're installed? And I can't help but wonder about $16 for a switch.
I think Chief Lang's trying to talk, but now
He says, hello.
he's typing because we can't hear
I
him.
can't hear you, Eric.
I think.
Chris, can you go up to
Mike's
the,
on.
I think you're good. It might be Eric.
can you go up to the comments?
The bubble in the right-hand corner. See the
The red spot, not the
red 2 up in the right-hand corner?
Here.
Yep, I am muted. I am muted and on speaker.
Hello, hello, hello.
I would move that we
Your speaker selection.
replace them for the 1302.97 and use money from that $40,000.
Emergency services or ESB fund.
Yeah,
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Questions?
No, I just think it would be wise to replace if you're starting to get some outages in areas and that's, if it's important to the running of the operation, you don't want to be in a position where you can't operate.
Yeah, he said ubiquity, they are end of life and one is not working currently.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thanks, Eric. Next, discuss the length of service award program for volunteer firefighters. So this was brought to my attention, trying to bring up, I don't think it was at was it at the last board meeting? Was it the one before that? Where we talked about the state program to, it's a nominal award for volunteer firefighters, but I thought it was important. And so the village board voted in favor of it, if I recall. And just figured I'd bring it up here to have a conversation about it. And I'm trying to bring up what we talked about it. Maybe it was the last one. Days are running together for me.
Where does it come from? The state, you say? Where does it come from? The village?
The village would end up paying for it. I'm trying to bring up the staff recommendation. Never find it. Any thoughts from the fire department?
I guess we haven't really talked to the members yet to see if it's something that they're interested in or not. I mean, it doesn't hurt.
Any budget item?
No. We discussed it February 6th. Yeah, so it's linked to service award program. It's a retirement benefit that the village can offer its volunteer firefighters. Put simply, the village makes an annual contribution to an account for each volunteer firefighter. For every dollar the village contributes, the state will contribute $2 up to $450 per volunteer per year. The state's max contribution increases with inflation annually. This money is then invested by a third-party financial institution. The volunteer can make withdrawal after they achieve certain benchmarks related to age and years of service. And this is a memo from our attorney, kind of outlines the program also allows partial vesting. Volunteers with 15 years of service, but between the ages of 53 and 60 would receive 95% of the value of their account upon electing to receive their benefit. Volunteers with more than 10 years of service, but less than 15 become partially vested. They can withdraw from their account at the age of 53 and will receive 50% of the net value of their account for their first 10 years of service, and an additional 10% of the net asset value of the account for each year of service after 10.
How does it impact people who've been here for 35 years? Does that mean they start at zero? Or is there a back date?
I believe it was date forward. I would have to double check that though. Again, figure bring it up for discussion. Again, nothing set in stone.
Can you go ahead and send it over to the town?
Sure.
Because I don't have anything on it at all.
Again, thought I'd just bring it up for discussion tonight, just to see if there's any thoughts, questions, concerns. I think when,
See what you guys think.
yeah,
And we can bring it to our members. We have a business meeting 2 weeks, a week from tomorrow. So that's when we'll have most people there. We can see if it's something they're interested in and
See what they think?
Do they have an opportunity to contribute themselves, or is it just?
no, this is a state. It's between the village and the state. Let's see here.
And then, yeah, and if the town wants to do it too, you guys can match, or you guys can do it together or whatever, you can share
Yeah.
the cost.
So, and we actually,
The district, yes.
yeah, so I'm looking back at the minutes. We did not approve it. We actually discussed, we bring it back here. This was the next step, was to talk about it here and see if there's any interest from the town. Again, I'll send you guys the memo.
Yeah.
We'll go from there. But
Okay.
again, it's nominal. It's not a huge dollar amount, right? But again, it
Rick
was,
ran the numbers on that too, didn't he?
yeah, he did. He pulled the numbers, yeah. But again, I figured it sounded worthwhile just to have the conversation. And just, again, see what the membership thinks and
Well,
go from there.
Are any one of you three on EMS?
Sorry?
Are any one of you three on EMS?
No,
Because of the fact if we're even considering this for fire, we ought to do the same thing for the remaining volunteers over at Deer Grove. That was one thing I pushed for a long time to try and get going, and
I mean, I don't.
I
think
couldn't get any traction at all on it. And but anyway, I just don't want to leave anybody out, you know, because I do.
100%.
What is there?
Huh?
What is there?
Oh, I don't. So, anyway,
Yeah, and then
It's
just
just-
for awareness too, so the fire department, at the time of this memo, the fire department currently has 45 members, assuming the village makes a contribution of $225, thereby receiving the maximum state match. The annual cost would be approximately $10,000, $125 for the fire department. Add an EMS, you know, and then the number would increase with the consumer price index every year. If the town of Cottage Grove contributes as well, then the village's cost to implement this program would decrease. So again, nominal in the grand scheme of things, but I think it's, for me, I think it just sounded, it was a token of gratitude, kind of how I looked at it, right? I think it's every dollar's a dollar, right? So that's kind of where my head was at.
yeah, Eric just says there's 20 volunteers left over there and would be happy to further the discussion. So,
So Steve, will you work with We work with Horton on a lot of different stuff. And that's the
What's that?
We work with Horton on a lot of different stuff, and that's the vendor we would want to do this through. I don't know if Chief Lang works with Horton on anything and how, if he would be able to set it up with them to coordinate, but.
I do know that the program was available for both fire and EMS back in,
It still is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Chief, I'd recommend you bring it up at the next EMS meeting.
We're actually meeting right now.
Huh?
We're meeting right now.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, they have training.
The commission. Well, yeah, EMS and the members and the commission.
It's in Chris's inbox and Nick's inbox.
One thing is that they don't receive compensation under contract. So there's some definitions that have to apply to for the LOSA. I know there are some departments in there that maybe they get stipends. So his definitions might apply depending on how his EMTs or volunteer EMTs are paid.
We'll put it as a
This is the hospital calling. I'll be right back.
future agenda item. Make a note of it. Okay. Moving on then, discuss and consider Town of Pleasant Springs contract renewal.
EMS is done with what they've put together to present Pleasant Springs for a 3-year contract. And we've always made them choose. If they take EMS, they also have to take fire and vice versa. So it's,
So 3 years instead of 5 this time?
well, we
It's
wanted
to
it
line up
to
the
align
contracts.
with our union contract over there. So I guess it's, do the volunteers feel that what we get paid for from Pleasant Springs is sufficient or not?
I think that we need to do some work on it. I don't know how much you want to talk about in open session or.
Yeah, I mean, you guys need to start.
So you want us to come together with what we think the price should be?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. We're kind of in the impression that it's a little high right now, like we're almost charging them too much right now. So that'd be something to discuss.
Yeah.
When we first started the contract, they had 90 some fire calls a year and now we're at 50 and 20% of those are canceled.
Yeah.
So the cost is how much we're actually doing down there, kind of dropped pretty significantly. So
I think there's a real interest from the village side of things to match whatever's in the EMS contract.
like, what do you mean?
And again, I'm not on the EMS committee, so
EMS went up quite a bit.
yeah. So it was based on equalized value? Was it? Or no, or am I wrong on that? I'd have to pull it.
I can't say for sure.
We can have some discussions with Chief
Yeah.
Lang to see how he presented his and kind of. what we do.
Yeah. If we can start that process so we can get it done yet this year, maybe.
Might
Yeah.
suggest maybe in the next agenda, then putting a closed session to talk about a contract.
Yep.
Not sure both the village and the town put them out, but Kim,
Yes,
Kim.
equalized value as a base for the formula.
Yeah.
Does he have the remote on mute?
I don't know.
I think maybe the TV is on mute. Computers.
What did I miss? Okay, sorry.
Told them to start working on it.
Oh,
And we'll discuss it more next meeting in closed session.
Okay.
I'm looking through the next agenda item agreement just to see if there's anything about adding municipalities. If that has any impact on the town of Pleasant Springs. I don't think it does directly. No. Mm-mm. Let's do one more check here.
They're mentioned in the document you sent.
This Pleasant Springs mentioned? I don't think so. All right, well then we'll. Then we'll just move that to the next agenda. Next is discuss and consider consolidated joint fire agreement. So.
On the January 27th, the town sent your attorney our red line version, and we're waiting.
Yep, and there's nothing in here I don't think that was of any real concern. I think the thing that actually jumped out at me was that both Rick and Bill thought this should be a commission and not a committee.
Mhm.
That was the one that jumped out. So what do we think about that? I guess last time we talked about it, we were going to continue to call it a committee, but the attorneys think we should refer to it as a commission. I'm inclined to listen to lawyers.
Yeah.
SVU.
No, it's remote.
I feel like I'm at my dad's house. It's like, which remote?
You have one of those things you put over the remote that blocks everything except volume and power.
Do you use this system? This is your area. Good. Wow.
Here it's talking about police and fire departments, pension funds, but it's if we create a joint with anyone, establish it as a committee. So I don't
know.
The commission makes me think that we would have to appoint citizen members to it. rather than elected.
So 6165 2B2.
The Deer Grove, is that a commission or a committee? Is Deer Grove a committee or a commission?
Oh, each village with a population of 5,500 or more that creates a joint fire department with another municipality shall create a joint board of fire commissioners with that municipality to govern the joint department.
Okay.
So so it has to be a commission. Yeah. So the question is, what does that mean then?
Deer Grove, and theirs is a
Yeah,
commission.
commission.
Can the commission be made up of elected officials?
I'm not a lawyer.
Me either. I would hope
I
it
don't
would.
read.
I could Google it.
I just have to read it.
Because commissions have the ability to
$350 an hour too.
create fees and do all that kind of stuff.
No, the police commission doesn't work that way. Police commission's all community members.
You can also be a board, or you can be a commission. You could be one or the other. Commissions are really for municipal fire departments. And you guys are a district. So you guys are a district that's working and contracting with a private fire department. So you guys are a board. You don't necessarily, you can really decide if you want to continue to be a committee or a commission. There's some guidance in the Wisconsin Fire Service Guidebook that really says you either form a board or a commission.
What's Wanakee? I mean, as big as Wanakee is and all their associated
I don't know what they.
members on those, are those guys still a committee over there? Are they?
I don't know what they call themselves. So from the Wisconsin Fire Service Guidebook, it says board.
Yeah, it says it both under the town and the village chapters here that it's a fire commission. Like it's pretty ironclad here based on the statutes they cited. I don't think it's up for debate.
Okay,
So
as long as we can be elected officials.
yeah, and it doesn't say anything beyond like has to be like a fire commission where it has to be where elected officials can't be on the commission.
On the police commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, because the police commission, we're all citizen appointment. There's no elected officials.
right.
But I thought the fire commission was for a municipal department. Yeah, no,
It's when you create
when you create a
a
municipal
municipal
department.
department, a joint municipal department.
Yeah, it says you can have a joint board. It doesn't, I guess we'd have to go looking through here, like if it's. Yeah, establish I see where the statute you're referencing though. It says none of whom may be an elected or appointed official of the village or be employed by the village. I guess that's a question to go back to then, to say like.
Another question for the attorneys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, there's nothing. I saw some other kind of chatter around adding a vice chair. It says the current agreement only creates the chair and a vice chair, but this agreement has a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary.
Mhm.
And does your lawyer go by Bill or William?
Bill.
Okay, so Bill added in kind of the swapping between the town and the village, which we've been doing anyways and we'll continue to do. I think there was some chatter around when budgets, but we do it by October anyway. So again, it's just put in writing there.
Yeah.
Bill tried to make a lot of the language consistent with the EMS agreement. Other than that, there wasn't nothing else like red line wise that jumped out at us.
Okay, so
I think we just go back for the ask about the commission language. I think that's it, right?
So we can move forward with it?
Well, yeah, we could. I think the question is though, what if it is a commission and yes, none of us elected officials can be on the commission?
Yeah.
That's a huge red
That's a
flag.
problem.
Yeah. And if that's, and again, April's kind of super clear, we don't, it sounds like, and based on everything I'm reading here, doesn't necessarily mean that would be the case, but again, is there another chapter here that I'm missing that, I don't know. What's that? This is 1920, but it's, again,
There's a lot more books. There's a whole series of books up there.
It's the current statute book that we have.
it is all online. Trying to kill as much paper as I can. But yeah, I mean, I'll entertain a motion, or we can wait to go back to the lawyers about the commission question.
Let's not agree to do it until we figure out if there's any ramifications, i.e. we all get fired.
I want to find
Can't
out.
Yeah.
what the lawyers have to
Right.
say before.
Yep.
Wanakee just calls himself a fire district. All they say,
They don't
fire district.
Just fire district.
I hear district board a lot, and that's it. They just leave it at district board. They don't call themselves.
I think the bigger question I would have is how often are these agreements looked at though?
True.
Until there's a problem.
Until there's a problem, they're not
Yeah.
looked at, right? So
This
it's,
is the enforcement police to make sure you're running.
yeah, I mean, like who's,
Versus a board.
and if I'm not mistaken, April, aren't you the one that's
She's
like,
the
you have to
enforcement-
come in
that's what I
and,
said, she's the
like, all this
enforcement.
stuff? Like, at the end of the day, the judge, jury, and executioners in the room here.
Yeah.
Kinda like-
How long is it gonna take before this committee?
I mean, it sounds like it's not that big of a deal, but again, just want to be,
I'd rather wait myself.
okay. So
Just have clarification on that.
do we want to table it or just kind of move on?
Table it.
Okay.
So
Second.
moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any motion carries. Next meeting date. So
6-3.
we,
6-3?
6-3.
No, 2.
Or 3-3.
Wow.
3-3.
3-3?
I'll get it right, yeah. That's when landfill had picked because
320, so yeah,
of spring break, was it?
yep.
So 323.
323 at 6:30. Does that work for everybody?
23.
3/23/23.
323.
Sorry, my calendar. Must be the regular schedule.
Well, we moved it because you and I are kids, man. We're going on spring break.
New York.
I'm going on another.
Wow. Must be nice to be young.
Happy wife, happy life. That works. So, all right, 323 here at Town Hall at 6:30.
Yep.
Future agenda items, I have length of service award program. Will you guys have talked about it by then? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it next Tuesday.
Joint fire agreement, and then we'll have a session, probably a public and a closed session around town of Pleasant Springs
And the air compressor?
and your compressor. Would we do a single stage? Are you looking at 2-stage?
I guess we'll find out what's the most
You know,
appropriate.
the thing is, for what it does, I mean, yes, it's gonna work hard, say if all the trucks come back and, tanks need topping off. But all it's gonna need to do is just, burp here or burp there for the truck. And quite frankly, for the CFM that a, 5-horse, single stage, 60-gallon tank will put out. I think it would work well, rather than go on the 2-stage, because there isn't a constant heavy duty draw on it like there would be if you were physically using it, for.
Your vacuum system or something. I'm
So
sure.
we're gonna end up paying more for the
Air dryer.
hair dryer, right?
I would think so for,
Yeah, I mean, we probably need somebody to figure out how big of an air dryer you need, because there's different CFM on your load, but
To make sure the bids are complete, so, yeah, make sure you know what you want.
Okay. So
Move we adjourn.
a motion for adjournment. Do we have a second? Second from Chris. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. See you at 3:23.
Do you have 5?
Thanks, Eric. Tied it anywhere?
This meeting is no longer being
Number 2.
recorded. Yes, it is. It's still being recorded. It's still.
Order.
Did you send away for those, like the state, did you send them to you, the latest copies?
Yeah, they send them every 2 years.
I'm gonna look up the rating laws themselves, because they have their own too.
You guys think, it's like a parking lot.
Yeah, all good.
I'm told it's the same thing.
This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Nope.
Nervous
Double
clicker.
click.